Hello everyone, Richard, David here with another Ask the Broker. It's Friday and here we are. Today's topic has come from different situations we've seen over the last month or two, and it's what should you look for when you as a realtor are going out to show a home as far as your buyer being an FHA buyer? What are things you should look for? We know there are some that are required. We know there are some that really aren't, but could be. So let's go over that. I'm going to go over a couple of the requirements pretty much for sure.
Okay.
We know in FHA that you have to have a heat source for the house.
Yep.
Meaning you have to have some kind of heater, central heat,
Wall unit.
wall unit. Does a fireplace heater qualify for that? I don't know the answer to that.
I don't think it does.
I don't think it does because it can't get out to enough of the house. So, and then a stove is pretty much required because they have to cook food so they can eat and survive. What are some of the questionable ones and why are they questionable?
Well, I think it always just comes down to health and safety issues. The health, meaning a couple things you mentioned, and then safety items, which first thing that pops in our heads is smoke detectors, carbon monoxide detectors. You know, these are things that are a must for any house, but obviously for FHA, it needs to be in there.
Now, who would spot if the smoke detector or stove are missing? Who spots that, and then who makes it a requirement?
You know, it's a listing agent should, I mean, you'll see it when you walk in the house, but the buyer's agent, if you're showing that house, should be looking for these things right off the bat if you know you're working with an FHA buyer that's using an FHA loan. So when you're out looking at homes, you know, walk through and take mental pictures of these things to make sure you're covered before you write up an offer.
Yeah, remember, on the smoke detector, CO detector, and double strapping the hot water heater, those are all forms that are being filled out to saying, yes, they've been done.
Yeah.
Now let's get into a little more questionable because this is things that we do daily. Okay, how about chip paint? Is that called by FHA?
Yeah, it can be. If you have exterior paint trim that's chipping or peeling, you know, if it's pretty severe, I've had that be called out to where it needs to be fixed for sure.
Now called out by who?
The appraiser.
Ah, the appraiser. That's the one that goes through that has the checklist.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what would another one be?
If you have any sort of cracked window panes with, you know, a crack through them, an FHA appraiser, if they catch it, will call that out as an item to be fixed prior to the appraisal being completed or the loan being funded.
Okay.
That sort of thing.
What about now I've seen this one too where the appraiser kind of looks under the sinks, kind of looks a little harder at things in the bathroom. Why? Because water damage. As soon as he sees maybe wood rot, things like that, then what gets called for? A pest report.
Yeah.
And then what's the underwriter going to ask for off of the pest report?
Yeah.
To clear it. I've seen one where the appraiser was walking up to the house and it was a wood shake and they were sticking almost straight up because, you know, they just shrink and shrink and shrink and then they get pushed by the air
call
and
that to be
sticking up.
Fixed.
Is that going to be called?
Yeah.
Pretty much so. So I think the answer to this is there's some that are definite and then there are some as let's see what kind of condition they're in. But you as the agent, when you're looking through a house with your buyer, watch for these things because they could come up as a topic later in the escrow and kill your escrow or cause buyer and seller quite a bit of grief.
Yeah, and then keep in mind, anything that you write in the contract, the underwriter for the loan's going to want to see a copy of. For instance, if you write buyer to pay for pest inspection report, since that's in the initial contract that's given to the lender, that underwriter is going to want to see the copy of the pest inspection report because it's in the contract. And my personal opinion is you want to try to avoid sending any sort of inspection reports to the underwriter because it just opens up a can of worms. It opens up
Yeah.
many additional things that could go wrong, or many other requirements that they're going to ask the house to be fixed prior to close of escrow. So give yourself a break on that and try to avoid any sort of extra inspections or reports and that sort of thing written right inside the actual offer.
Yeah, keep in mind the underwriter does not see the house. They only see the file sent to them, and the appraisal.
Yeah.
So pictures might give away a few things, might not. But if it's in the contract, like David said, we want to see a home inspection, we want you to pay for it, or we're going to pay for pest or whatever, then that underwriter is going to see it, and it could cause some,
Lots of issues.
yeah, lots of issues. That's a good one down the
Yeah.
line.
Anything else today?
Well, I think that's it. Just, as you're walking through, look for things and maybe save yourself a lot of grief down the line.
Yeah. Proactive is the way to go on this one.
That's right.
All right, guys. Thanks so much for joining us today. If you watched the entire video, thanks again for watching this week's episode of our Ask the Broker show. We'll see you next Friday.